Welcome back to another episode of We Are Adventure Riders. We have a jam-packed video for you today as we spend a few days exploring Armenia's capital, Yerevan.
Look at the hustle and bustle!
Then visit the Armenia Genocide Museum to learn about a harrowing but important part of history.
Almost 2 million people were killed. Why is this not talked about more?
Then ride just outside the city to see a strange underground world before riding up Armenia's highest mountain, Mount Aragats, for a wild camp.
We've come to Gum Market, not too far from the centre of Yerevan, to see what this city is all about.
We're going to see all of the foods, and more of the foods,
and all of the foods.
Yes, that's enough.
What are you getting, Luce?
Dried apricots.
Ooh. What's it called?
Lavash.
So we're asking this lady where we can get Zinyalov hat. You'll see what it is in a minute. She tried her best to give us directions in Armenian, but it just wasn't working. So in the end, she's like, fuck it, I'll just take you there myself. So this lady brought us to this little bakery, and they made one fresh for us.
So it's lavash bread, and it's filled with greens like spinach, spring onions, and herbs and spices.
And it's called a Zinyalov hat.
So good. Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah.
Shake, shake. Come. We've got some bastuma. It's dried meats. Look at the hustle and bustle. We're in the Republic Square of Yerevan.
The Republic Square is pretty cool. It's surrounded by these really old, very grand buildings, and it's pretty much exactly symmetrical. So you've got the main building at the front here, in front of the fountain, and then either side of it, there's two there, and these two this side are almost exactly the same.
We are on the Cascade Monument. At the top it has beautiful views of the city and Mount Ararat.
It's basically a huge staircase that's also lined with fountains and some art, and there are cafes and bars either side. But it was never actually finished. They started it in 71, finished the first stage in 80, started again to 2000s, and then it kind of stopped again.
Still really huge and tall.
Yeah, it's just the very top that's not finished, where they're trying to build a museum. But sadly, all of the fountains are not working today because I think they're cleaning everything. We've come to the Armenian Genocide Museum to learn more about the very harrowing and sad piece of history that personally I and Lucy knew nothing about before. So when the Ottoman Empire conquered Armenia, it was divided into Eastern Armenia and Western Armenia. Eastern Armenia became part of the Ottoman Empire. So this goes way back to when the Ottoman Empire conquered Eastern Armenia. So for a long time, a large portion of the Ottoman Empire was occupied by a very strong and well-developed Armenian society. The Ottomans didn't like that the Armenians had such a strong society and culture and better developed educational system and stronger religion within their empire. So around the 1890s, the Ottoman Empire ordered large-scale massacres across the empire of Armenian people. When a new government came to power in the Ottoman Empire, the Young Turks, the Armenians were promised safety, but that didn't happen. And in fact, just after World War I, the Young Turks ordered the systematic genocide of the Armenian people. The genocide was carried out in 3 phases. The first phase was killing the men and the soldiers. The second phase was killing the intellect, so physicians, writers, composers, and the third and final phase, around 1915, was the deportation of the women and children into the desert, where a majority of them were either killed or died through natural causes. The genocide was considered complete around 1922, when Ataturk, the leader of Turkey at that time, destroyed and burnt the remaining society of Armenians in Turkey. So from around 1914 to 1922, 1.5 million Armenian people were killed in the genocide. Adding to that 300,000 in the massacres before, almost 2 million people were killed. Why is this not talked about more? Why is this not taught in the educational systems? Why don't we know about this? Well, even today, Turkey doesn't recognize these events as genocide, and the relationship or lack of between Turkey and Armenia remains very cold. The border remains closed, and there are no diplomatic relations at all. And in fact, not every country in the world recognizes the genocide. Those that do have planted trees in this museum to show their recognition and their support. There's a huge amount more detail to this event in history, so that was really just a very high-level summary of what we learned during our time here at the museum. We did our first couch surfing experience last night in one of these old Soviet flats, which was pretty interesting, hey?
Very interesting. Very nice host. Let us in late at night with short notice.
Yeah, it was great.
Bit of a spontaneous day yesterday.
So, yeah, it's our last day in Yerevan. We've just got a couple more things to see, and then we're heading off towards Mount Aragats. Alright, let's get out of here, head back toward, where are we going? This way?
Not up there.
Not up there, nope. Let's head back towards the city centre, this way. There are these huge monuments all over Yerevan actually. They like a good monument here. And there's Yerevan down there with
Mount Ararat.
Mount Ararat, yeah, in the background. So when we've been riding around the more rural, smaller parts of Armenia, you can often see signs of it being quite poor and the people living like a more basic life. But here in Yerevan, especially in the center, it's very well developed and it's a really cool looking city, and there's definitely some money around. There's a lot of people with big new BMWs that seem to be very popular. So before we head completely out of Yerevan city, we are heading towards the suburb area to see a very unique attraction, which is called Levon's Divine Underground. You'll see what this weird place is. We're really out in the sticks here, Lucy. It is here. We've arrived. Levon's Divine Underground.
We are in Levon's Divine Underground. It's quite a strange place.
So this guy's wife asked him to dig her, quite simply, a cellar for her to keep her potatoes in. And then he did that, but he kept on digging for 23 years, and what he was left with was this series of underground tunnels and rooms and caverns, and it's incredible. He did it all by hand, chipping away.
That was a really strange place. The corridors just kept going on and on forever, and it was like a little maze inside. And it was like up some stairs, down some stairs. There was intricate like carvings on the walls. There was a little room with some religious shrines for maybe praying, like a church. It was a crazy place, weird place. All for some potatoes.
Yeah, it was wild. It's like this guy just got obsessed with digging this cave, and he just didn't stop almost the entire rest of his life with his little chisel and his hammer, and he just kept going and going and going in this little just suburb, this little village, just a normal house, but underneath it, going, I think I read 70 feet under his house, there's this maze. Alright, now it's time to leave Yerevan completely. Ready, Lucy? Good. We're finally leaving Yerevan after 4 nights here, and we're heading now further north to Mount Aragats. We're climbing now up towards Aragats. You can see the road on the map here.
We've got 25 more minutes of riding further towards the peak of Aragats, where we'll be hiking tomorrow.
So that's Aragats, Lucy. I think those are the peaks that you can climb. It's got very cold. It's 15 degrees. Let's see where we can camp up here. Nowhere here really, right? It was a bit busy up there, more developed than we thought it would be, so I think we will camp down here by this smaller lake. I think it's a bit more sheltered as well, right?
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's cold.
This camp is at 3,200 meters, and it's really cold. But we're just doing some dinner, and there was this group of Armenian dudes over there, and they keep coming over, and they're like, "Come, come, come, party, party, English Armenia friend." So I think we don't have any choice, but after we've eaten our dinner, go over there for some vodka and some party.
Join us again next time as we wake up on Armenia's highest mountain, Mount Aragats, and head off for a hike up the peak. Then it's back on the bike for a nice ride right up to the northwest corner of Armenia to Lake Arpi. With no tourists around and almost no civilization in sight, it makes for the perfect final camp in Armenia.